Cap.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Good afternoon. And welcome to Put Your Family. I was working on my voice for a second. Welcome to Put Your Family First. This is your host, Dr. Calvin T. Mann, and we're here live today. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to EMIYTV Put Your Family First podcast. We're glad to be in the building. Hello, Dr. Head. All right, Dr. Dave.
Hey.
Yeah, so we got a special guest gonna pop on at any moment. But before we bring on the guest, how's your losses out there with your 401k and this great leadership at the helm right now for the third tragic day at the stock market? People losing millions and billions and thousands. Mm-hmm. You know, they had a publication come out and say your 401k is cooked.
They probably going, I can't take it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's then, the conversation was, you gonna turn up even more, right? You owe China trillions. You cost the people $6 trillion in 2 days. Mm-hmm. But you owe China trillions. Then you tell China today, are we going to take it up even more? Mm-hmm. So China decides, what China tell them? Well, here's what we're going to do. Any of your IPOs, trademarks, and everything is open to our country. We're no longer protecting trademarks in China and all of that. And we're going to duplicate 100% now. Yeah.
Did they say cold?
Hoo-wee. That's 3.5 billion people, if not more. Man, that's the economy in itself.
Not the smartest move. As Marvin would say, cold, you stupid.
He popped back on yet? Yeah. Huh? All right, let him in.
Well, that's not the best intro to him, though.
So, we want to welcome our special guest, my friend and brother, Kelly Little. Right. How you doing, Kelly? I guess we're going to plug him in. Right. We're trying to plug your picture in.
Okay. Oh, one of the crew.
There's my man. That's my guy.
Y'all fancy.
So good afternoon, Kel. We want to, get into some in-depth, right? Because, put your family first. It's all about family, right? Our family, restoration, concepts, ideas, solutions. I know you're a walking solution. I was glad to see you wanted to be present. So the first thing, give us a little bit about who you are and a little bit of your backstory.
All right, peace, blessings, elevation, Kelly Little. Currently living in Charlotte, North Carolina, by way of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. little bit of my story. Grew up single parent home. Pretty much 7 women in the house. One cousin, Air Force, and so navigating in that space. Of course, there were some gaps and some different things, but also it helped me develop a great sense of emotional intelligence and a better understanding of women and how to support women. So that to this day fuels the work that I do for black and brown boys and black and brown men to restore black and brown families. Although that's not the only demographic I serve, that is my intentional focus to transform those challenges and areas that I came from to better make sure I'm doing a prudent job of preparing them for the world that they're going to go into.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you and Dave got the military in the background. When did you go into the military, Kel?
1989.
1989.
Some active duty time, got out, went back to college, finished college, went back in numerous deployments to the Middle East, and me and Big D met up in DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Battles for life.
Battles for life. So the other thing you keeping a secret, how long you been married, my friend?
26 years, going on 27.
Blessings.
How many children, Kel?
2 beautiful daughters. One recently graduated from East Carolina University. The other one probably not doing too well right now because University of South Carolina lost and yesterday.
Yeah, they got their mud
one
hole.
of the hometown girls.
Yeah. So this brings us right, because when we get into this conversation, I try to bring Kel, I don't know if you really catch a lot of our episodes, but I try to bring everything back to fatherhood, right? So me, I'm a pest about those things. But what is your fatherhood story?
Interesting. So what I would say is that never met or seen my biological father, but my sister's father was an amazing example. Support. The entire family was supportive, and to your point around bringing fatherhood back to everything, when I look at my experience in that story, I was supported by not only him, but neighborhood fathers, which I consider community fathers, spiritual fathers, and as I navigated my journey in life, so many mentors and sponsors who invested in me. And so that's what drives and propels the work that I do today with the Urban Institute for Strengthening Families and many of the fatherhood initiatives that I have to support men and fathers navigating complex systems without any support, but also adding in that impact of making sure I bring to fruition the impact of women and how the support of women have helped us from the beginning of time to the day that we sit here right now talking about this conversation around families.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We kind of I think what you're saying with us is we're going to share these stories like yourself that I'm very familiar with, and so people can really see quality men doing this work without it being where it's more appreciated, right? And so when you talk about the Urban Institute for Families, but before I go, anybody got a question? Dave, Heather, I know you got one. Pull it out.
I have plenty. Thank you for being here and giving me the space to be able to ask a couple of questions. I just want to really talk about your firsts, like your first mentee. Who was your first mentor? Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So when I think of first mentor, I would have to say it probably one of my basketball coaches,
Mm.
right? Because we often don't think of them as mentors, but for many young men, particularly in urban environments, uh, a basketball coach, a football coach, a boxing coach. And for that example, for me, would have been a guy by the name of Mr. Mass, who really spent a lot of time developing my skills, my skill set. But he was the biggest supporter and encourager of me as I was navigating that. And I actually even had to back up a second. It was actually a white guy by the name of Mr. Shelley, who was a teacher at a predominantly urban school, not predominantly all urban school, and he took me to my first basketball game. He was real supportive, well known in the community. Although he didn't look like us, he was definitely one of us. And to this day, I still communicate with him,
Oh, blessings.
and very appreciative to him.
What was one of the threads in that relationship, that mentor relationship? I heard you say that he was very supportive of you, but what's one of those threads that you incorporated into your journey of mentoring?
So what I would say is relationship and connection, because it was an older guy in my neighborhood who's no longer here, who coached me as well and supported me, but he was from the neighborhood. Well, that same mentor actually was a mentor of his. And so I watched how he communicated with so many people, how he connected, and he was authentic and genuine. And so how I show up with every person I engage, interact, or work with, it always has to be from a space of being genuine, being authentic, and really kind of getting to know people, know their story, and just empowering them to have the agency that they already have that they may not know in that moment. So that was a critical component to me. And also, he taught me a lot of things around critical thinking that I use to this day.
Nice. Thank you.
Brother
Great
Dave?
question.
Yeah, she stole it. I'm going to tell you right now. She stole that question. She stole that question.
Well, I have plenty. I can loan you some of mine.
She gonna loan you. You can't even have them. She gonna loan them to you. I know your credit must be good then, huh? Very good. My brother, my battle. I'm proud of you. But what I want you to emphasize is that you said you've been married over 27 years?
Going on 27.
27
2 more
years.
months.
So we're talking about 9,000 days. Because when you hit that 50 mark, it's 18,250. I want you to kind of share the importance of having your life partner walk that journey. How significant? Because I remember my former pastor said that he would not be the success he is if it wasn't for his wife, as he watched ministers and pastors or what have you fall by the wayside. He had that rock that stood with him. And if you make 27 years and you've made over that 9,000 days, she got to be a rock. Talk about the emphasis of and the importance of marriage.
I think for me, when we see marriage as a union, we don't understand its significance in our earlier stages because you're both growing and developing. But as you grow and develop, and you understand what's out in the world, you realize having that person, that partner, that advisor, that person who holds you accountable, to be accountable to yourself when you give so much of other people, when you support initiatives, when you're out in the community, they're a sounding board, they're a resource space, they're an encourager. And so without that, you don't have any energy. You or your judgment sometimes might not be the greatest just because that person gives you a different perspective. And so from a growth standpoint on so many levels, you begin to grow together, but also you understand the importance of your differences and how it makes you stronger as a unit, as a family, as a man, because we both step to the table with divine feminine and divine masculine energy, and a good life partner helps you to see that you're not either or but a both and for me that's been the catalyst for me to continue to grow and to be in a space that I'm in today where I feel more comprehensive, more complete, not because that person adds value to me, but they add value to the union.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
give me honest feedback.
Well, I'm proud of you because we know being battles in the military, the divorce rate is off the scale. And when one can sustain the test of time like you have done, then that's something that really emphasizes the importance of marriage and having that life partner. Thank you.
Thanks, Battle.
So when you get into, we're going to get into these solutions. When you look around, Kel, as we do with the years, like how many years you been at this work?
Man, it's since college, so over 30 plus years.
Right. So when you look at the work, right, the community, what was the thing that made you understand that the community most definitely was going to need some solutions in regards to your urban institute, your ideas and concepts that has helped so many?
What I would say, Cal, is that it's understanding and seeing. First, let me back all the way up. There were some initiatives growing up in Philadelphia, and they were African groups that really emphasized the importance of collectivism when we lived in the world that was more Western focused and individually based, that could have steered me down a different path. And so reflecting back on those moments and the experiences that really educated me on how powerful we are as a collective body, and then navigating that pathway to seeing the work that's happening in Detroit with a U, with a Quan, with a Jason, with Big D, and all the amazing work that's happening across the country with Sean Dove, and you look at the Joe Jones and Kenny and David. Everything was centered around how we do this work together. And the more I study things like emotional intelligence, that is different from so-called quote-unquote leadership. A lot of people are focused on their individual skills and skill sets. When you ask somebody who they are, they're going to start talking about what their job title is, which has nothing to do with community and who they are collectively. It really elevated me from understanding that individualism is just a foundational skill or skill set that propels you into the greater skill set, which is the alignment and the collectivism of a organized body of multiple entities and family. And if you're not doing these things in community with family, then you're not elevating or addressing the systems and institutions that have taken us away from those things that allow us to thrive. And so just watching all the successful organizations and studying them, the one common theme or thread that was there was this component of interweaving other bodies together to create something that's bigger than ourselves individually.
Yeah. We good point. I understand the importance of the work, right? When you and I have had several conversations and understanding the importance of the work, and in some cases it has to look a certain way for certain people, but for us, it's really the hands to the plow mantra, to see the culture and not to leave us better than what we found it, right? And seeing the work, like, you know, watching you in DC last year was such a treat. And your style and your presentation, but you know what's more important, I think this is another reason why family is so important, because what you just said about your wife puts you and your family puts you in a position of peace to be able to execute in these areas to assist. You know, a lot of times I see a lot of, and you've worked with a lot of men. I see a lot of men, and me and Dave, we talk about this all the time, but you can see the difference when somebody doesn't have somebody. Mm-hmm. And so as men, you know, getting men to understand that their value in their, in some ways have not transitioned into the areas. Like the boy has to transition into the man. The man has to transition into the husband. The husband has to transition into the father. And in the relationship as a husband, the husband and wife has to transition into husband and wife. But for what we see from our work, you know, what is the one story that had such a heavy impact on you that you just had to go out and do something when it happened?
So I would say this. I can reflect back on my childhood, and although, again, I shared with you my story in terms of not knowing the biological, but I had a family on that still on my sister's side who I didn't even know until I graduated high school and it was time to go to college, right? And I seen this different name on my birth certificate. That's how well they treated me. And I seen many examples of elders in our community. I got to watch, every year I would come to North Carolina and visit my grandparents. And there was a legacy there that went back numerous generations, of what it meant to be connected and have that feeling of belonging. And so, and we're all from you know how they say, a person of a certain age, that we all had to sit down and watch Roots when we were growing up. And so for me, Roots was more than just a television sitcom, or not even a sitcom, a television series that spoke about our past, our present, and our future as it relates to melanated people, and gave me a different level of appreciation of, again, the family unit and navigating adversity. And so no matter what situation or circumstance we find ourselves in today, I understand that we have endured so much more than that, which brings me back to the importance of the family unit. And if we think from, let's say, the late 60s to our current time, part of the challenges and obstacles that we deal with right now, which is nothing more than opportunities if we really look at it, but most of those exist because of the separation of family units. And so for me, that's always going to be at the forefront of my mind. How do we bring back this thing that we call a neighborhood when we don't know our neighbor, which is to reconnect with our neighbor? The hood again, parenthood. The hood again, brotherhood. All those things ties right back to connectedness, community, relational, and those are the things that will allow us to navigate difficult times, because that's when we pull our resources together. That's when we uh, allow ourselves to kind of learn from those forces in the community who are elders, and understanding that family sometimes isn't just your biological family, but it's also your communal family.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's so very insightful. So this is Heather again. Of course, I'm loving this conversation. I was thinking about when you were sharing, Kelvin and I, and we talk about acceptable culture. And we call acceptable culture the thing that may start in your household that then starts to expand into your circle of people around you, or the people on your block, and it keeps this acceptable culture keeps growing and growing. And so the more we grow or expose, and if we're not shifting, or if we're not correcting or self-correcting, that we start to allow things in that value system to be shifted as well. And I was wondering, as you were speaking, that as you are seeing, you talked about a Philadelphia environment and a Charlotte environment. I was thinking, where do you see, or what is being established as acceptable culture when we talk about family in those different areas that may not line with the values that we talked about, or you shared with, about neighbor and neighborhood, brother and brotherhood, sister and sisterhood? Like, what are some of the things that are emerging but not necessarily aligning, but are being accepted as acceptable culture? What do you see happening?
What I That's a great question. So what I would say is that um, this, and it's a part of growing. The younger generation don't value the elders as a whole, because I never could say that as a all, but as a whole, the same way we were taught, like people wouldn't curse or do certain things around adults when I was coming up, that I see happen pretty frequently and boldly now. And like anywhere else, I think we were a little further behind than the generation before us. So some of the things that I struggle with is a lot of this gunplay and gun violence and the disrespect for young ladies, for elders, for adults. But at the same time, I would also ask is, was there a gap somewhere in between? And I know I see it because I see people scared to approach young people, and working around them long enough, I know that they really just want somebody to say something to them many times. And unfortunately, some of the people from my generation, our generation, haven't done that. And so what's not acceptable for me in those areas that I've seen is just that. But I've seen in other instances, I know for me in Philadelphia, it was very family oriented in my neighborhood. But it was like that in other neighborhoods, which caused some friction and some collides, because you may be from here and they're from this other side of town, and there was some
Right.
friction between that. But just being able to capitalize on the strengths and the asset based benefits that we've seen, to also help to tap into what about the little boy and the little girl that some of our so called adults are really kind of operating in, and helping them to tap into that, give forgiveness to themselves, go through a grieving process, so that they can move beyond this individual, this me phase, so that I can move in from a caterpillar into the butterfly and make that transformation. So it's really that some of this individually focused challenges that many people are dealing with, and they feel like they don't have like elders or real OGs to help them navigate them situations and circumstances, or be vulnerable with.
Yes.
Yes. Hold that thought. We got a commercial. Hold on, Kel.
Okay.
Every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is gonna get called. I'm not coming back. Emmy Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Are you an indie podcast or content creator looking to reach a wider audience? Look no further. Introducing Podcastic, the ultimate podcast network designed exclusively for indie creators like you. At Podcastic, we believe in the power of unique voices and fresh perspectives. We're here to amplify your passion and creativity, connecting you with the growing community of engaged listeners who crave original content. Podcastic is more than just a platform. It's a support system built for indie podcasters, offering a range of resources to help you succeed. From tailored promotional campaigns to professional production assistance, we're here to help you shine. Our intuitive platform makes it easy for you to be seen and heard. We do all the heavy lifting for you. You just show up and create. Plus, with our advanced analytics, you'll gain valuable insights into your audience's preferences, allowing you to refine your content and grow your fan base. Ignite your passion, expand your reach, and thrive with podcasting. Visit our website at www.podcasticlife.com to get started. Podcasting, the home for indie podcasts and content creators.
Awesome. So we're back. So, Kel, now is that defining moment where, Dave, did you have a question before I go into?
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Right. I see you got that sweet ass sweater hoodie on, and I missed that conference. Tell everybody where you got that from and what it was about.
Louisville, Kentucky, the Rumble, Young Man Rumble, convening there where leaders and young men, black and brown, from all across the country assembled to have conversation, to support, to be mentors, sponsors, have discussion and conversations, which many times are intergenerational, and many women in a space that are supporting black and brown boys and black and brown men all sat there for a couple of days really discussing how we continue to elevate this work and how we continue to be a presence and a force collectively to transform communities across the United States and beyond.
Yeah, I sure hate I missed that. That I know that was a very powerful time because the last one was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It had about 4 years, 3 years, 4 years ago.
They had a mini one last year in Louisville. The numbers wasn't quite as big, but the last big one was about a little bit before COVID.
Yeah, 2019. So, Kale, this is the point of the conversation where you tell us what you do for fun.
Yes.
You know what? I love that.
Spill the tea.
In my younger years, I might have said something like play basketball. Run. These days, I like riding horses.
All right.
Yeah, so
Dave. Right.
Yeah.
I like meditating, spending time around water. So water is super fun for me. And truth be told, I'm a different kind of dude, so I garden. Right? I get a lot of pleasure out of putting stuff in the soil, watching it grow, connecting in nature. And then yeah, I write a little bit of spoken word, so that's also a fun thing for me, especially since my rapping days are over. Cal, even though I still got bars, but that phase is gone. And the last thing I would say is just being able to be in spaces where my two daughters are at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to visit the one at USC, watching her do her thing, or going to get a pedicure with my oldest daughter. Like that's fun for me.
That's right. It's the little things.
Do you cook?
Yeah.
Do you cook, Kelly?
Oh yeah.
Anything that come out of the ground for you get on the plate too?
It does, but like I like to eat it raw.
Mm-hmm.
But I can burn though.
How about the grill? Are you a grill guy? Grill master?
Mm-hmm.
Prove
Definitely
it. Prove it.
Look,
I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna hold that for example. I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you with that one.
Right,
I got you.
Because she
Thank
likes
you.
the swine, the ribs. She's a rib and pork chop eater.
She like that animal to give everything, right? The egg still live, but the poor ham don't. That pig that been done, them ribs been done. She want to give it all.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good because that's essentially where we have to, where we really have to go. And I know that's why the convening, for a way for us to, quote unquote, let our hair down, relax, be amongst brothers, talking in peace, and have that space. I love that because I know that's where we first met in Louisville, and that was that's a huge thing, right? Because we don't get to. Right? How many men during COVID that went on that was doing this work? I was talking to a friend, Saul Paul. He's an artist, community driven, out of Austin, Texas, and we were having a conversation the other night. And I'm gonna bring him on for he's doing a $1 Million Dreams campaign right now, and we were having the conversation. He was like, man, we got to get our mindset, got to shift to where we have to elevate what we do to be compensated at the level we should be compensated, because it's not guaranteed. We know too many people who have given their all in this space and was never compensated. Yep. Like they actually, and I think that's a tribute to something that we have to talk about, that I'm gonna ask some people. There are a lot of men who we just do not give them love for their contributions, which is the reason why we asked that question about that person in your life, because we have to, and I guess that's what I'm gonna be doing with my new book, All Ingredients Count, is to raise the awareness, right, that we have to give these men, these fathers, their due. I mean, I don't care if it's a cupcake, a flower, $5, a trip, a pedicure. You know what I mean? We have to give them their due. These men make a lot of sacrifice. One of my friends is on, William McMichael. I've watched him sacrifice for years in coaching and being involved, and I know several men, right, that moved on during COVID that was literally pouring into our youth. And I always say, can you imagine if you and I and Dave and the people that we know wasn't doing this work? Could you imagine what the community, the culture, what it would look like? Like
big hole. That's what would be the big hole in this center.
Yeah. Yep. And so us coming together to have these conversations is very, very important. What's the one thing, because you tell everybody, that's right, tell everybody about your children's books.
Oh, it's funny. So one's called They Lit the Way, play on words, as they being us, as they being the ancestors, as they being the angels, but it's all black superheroes, right? So I wanted people of color to see people of color in books as superheroes, to inspire them to step into their purpose and in alignment with who they was born and birthed to be. And the other one is called Imhotep and the Magical Healing Horses of Nzinga Village, which is
All right.
play on Queen Nzinga and who Imhotep was in terms of being the father of medicine, the architect, a true Renaissance man who built the pyramids, a priest, and so many other things. We have to understand our history because if we don't know where we come from, it's difficult for us to know where we're going. But the other part is the horses. Horses are such magical creatures in that they will lower their blood pressure to lower your blood pressure. And so that component really teaches young people to understand that every power or every skill set that you wish you had, you already have. You just need to connect with yourself so that you can identify what your gift and talent is that you was purposed to give to the rest of the world.
Where can they get those books? Type this up. Where can they get your books at?
They definitely can find it on Amazon. Both of them is there. They Lit the Way and Imhotep and the Magical Healing Horses of Nzinga Village.
Under your name, right?
Yes,
Kelly
sir.
R. Little.
Yes, sir.
On Amazon. Okay, we typing that up. So it's funny how we've found ourselves in these different spaces, right? And when you start talking about poetry, I need you to give me a piece of poetry, brother. Just
Yes.
a small clip.
Yes, yes.
You don't put me on the spot, but okay.
Right.
I got you, Kyle. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Let me say this real quick before I say that, Kyle. When I talked about not knowing my biological, just this December, I went to Africa for 3 weeks because I found my sixth great grandfather, who was this prince that was stolen from Guinea, brought to Natchez, Mississippi, and I watched the video like 50 times before I found out who he was.
Wow.
And so I really bring that up to speak to the importance of family connectivity. Of course, and his dad was the king, so he was the general of the military. That's how he ended up. They won the war and then got caught by some English folk that was on the perimeter there, and he ended up here, but they had to bring him back 40 years later. And so for anybody out there who's struggling with any of that, just trust the process because I'm 54 years old. This didn't happen for me overnight. I had to do the DNA stuff. I had to do the research. But just identifying with that really aligned me to not only my divine purpose, but there was a royal connection that obviously somewhere I knew something was connected because I watched this video and never knew that was the answer.
Wow.
Blessings.
That's awesome.
So moving from that, I'm gonna give it to you, Kyle. Did this. If we build as we climb, then what are we building this time? Let our mind not be confined to this physical place with time. We must understand that our assignment is divine. So we grind, align, educate, ignite, and transform. So new dreams are born. Disenfranchised, exploited, and extorted. Transition to unified, economically empowered, and supported. Eradicating this new Jim Crow and redlining until it's voided. I say failure is not an option. So those who doubt, stop, son. Remember that you shine like one. Oxymoron, polar opposites, day and night, sun and moon. The duality of life illuminates existence. Our persistence and commitment elevates when we understand our purpose. Therefore, I ask the Creator for a divine plan on how we effectively work this. His response, invest in our best and brightest, which are the young and old. Listen, speak infinite life into their soul. And remember that they are the children of the Creator, so behold. If I gave you a song then I'm holding on a string that's strong. And if you encourage me now, because I'm young. One of the essence of my voice is the choice. I'm uplifting my gift while you looking at yours. Align it to your gift. I'm going to leave it there.
Blessings. Thank you.
That was cool.
Right. We need to play that over a few times. A few more times over the next couple of weeks. That's powerful. Thank you.
So before you slide out of here, brother, I got one question we're going to ask everybody, right? And then you got to give me a statement. But the question is, if you have one piece of excellent advice for those who are listening, what is that advice?
That one piece of advice is, although it's important to educate yourself and obtain degrees, while you're doing that, I need you to spend time with yourself, learning who you are in isolation. Because the more time we spend with ourselves, the more we get to understand our redeeming gifts that we were purposed to give to the universe, to our neighborhood, to the nation and community. And again, it only starts when we start to spend time by ourselves away, really breaking ourselves down and learning not to take things personal, but to understand that our only role in this thing that we call life is to get the lessons so we don't repeat the lessons and then become a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you. So before you sign off, we need you to say your name and finish it with "Encourage me, I'm young." Say your name and then say "Encourage me, I'm young."
Kelly R. Little. Encourage me, I'm young.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I truly appreciate you for chiming in and popping in as usual. And I see we're gonna have to make it that way for some ribs, because I'm gonna hear about this for the next 2-3 months, brother.
Or whatever is coming out the ground that's grillable.
I'm telling you, it's some ribs in North Carolina. I can hear them. That's something I'm gonna hear. Right?
I can look, hey, and I make some mean lamb too. So
I love it.
Okay, well, we appreciate you, man, and thank you for coming on, Kels.
Now, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. It's good to see the power people in the place doing the amazing work that they've been purposed to do, to docs and my battle. Y'all continue doing amazing work that y'all been laying.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Right,
love you, man.
Take good care.
All right. Yeah. Peace.
So it's funny how these stories go, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many. So yeah, me and Dave, we was in DC. We had a ball, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that even in what we've seen, Dave, I sent my final presentation, last night, yesterday, and she was blown away. She sent back a message. Oh my God, this is powerful, by the presentation for June. But knowing that Juro and his partner, they gonna be there, and some other guys are contemplating it, right? I'm looking forward to this process. One of the things that for our interviewees coming up, we're bringing in Dr. Diana Green, Children's Literacy Initiative from Jacksonville. We got Jasmine. He's coming in June. So we've been sending out the link to book the people, because I want to show people that it's a lot of dope people doing dope things for the culture, so the culture and the people and the communities can see, right? I'm reaching out to a number of people, Stephen Baskerville with his book, and a few other men that I know that will really bring, support and back up this conversation. Dave, what would you like to add, and then tell them where they can reach you at?
I really enjoyed Kelly's message. One of the things he said that was running in my head about individualism and separatism, because unfortunately our world, and we were the contributing factors to this, for our young people to be this way, but we can always turn everything around. We can turn what the locusts have taken away. We know God can give it back. And I think that sometimes we don't entertain the thought that being an individual is significant in the sense of self-preservation. But it only should be about you sustaining yourself, because God put us here so we can go out and be, as he used the term, part of collectivism, being together, working together. He said right out the gate, it's not good for man to be alone. So it was never meant for us to separate ourselves or distance ourselves, but to come to develop ourselves so we can come together to help ourselves. So, you can reach me at FMAM, For Men About Men on Facebook, and DROM7 at yahoo.com.
Dr. Het?
I'm always excited to get to meet new people, but to hear their story, their journey. I love the fact that he talked about the lessons. I'm all about the lessons for the journey, and the fact that he was able to identify and lift up those lessons in a way that all of us who are listening could take a piece of it and be able to digest it, so that it did that fruit that he talked about, what he does in the soil, that fruit that of his life, of his wisdom, of his journey is, edible and sustainable to the soul. That's powerful to me. So I'm filled. I love talking about food, but the fact that the fact that he's able to elevate that in a way that nourishes your body and your mind, it was really amazing. I'm so grateful for sharing this moment.
Yeah. So where can they reach you at there?
I can be reached at your inspired with a D journey.com. That's yourinspiredjourney.com. And you can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855. So somebody other than the robocalls need to be making those calls.
Right. Oh yeah, tell them a little bit about how you're walking in the hills with the thrills and the skills turned up.
Oh, it was an amazing event, How to Walk in Heels. We also connected that to how we walk in faith, which I think is a really powerful insight to how we walk in heels. And that your shoe statement is your you statement. And that you don't have to, take the painful subjugation around wearing stilettos when your feet or your body are not in agreement with you. So there are other ways to substitute. There are other ways to get the effect that you're looking for in a practical shoe for you. So yeah, we talked about a lot of interesting things. It was a lot of fun. The ladies there were gorgeous. The ladies there were participating and having a good time walking the runway, thanks to Lit Mobile Events. And the place was lit up. It was lit up. So lots of lights, camera action happened at that event.
Oh, I thought y'all were lit up because y'all came Stagger Lee.
Well, there were some margaritas and some wine. And
yeah, a little Snoop food. You got a little Snoop.
Yeah, but she ain't messing with that.
Well, no. Yeah, I had the lemonade.
Okay.
Yeah, but really thanks to so many people who came to volunteer to help make that green carpet event an amazing success. So thanks to Mitzi and Derek Davis. Thanks to Kelly Miller. Thank you to Shannon Lucas. Thank you to Paula Miller, Christy English, Lynn, I don't know Lynn's last name, but all of them came through to help make sure that this event was an amazing event for those ladies that attended. And I thank them for entrusting me with the journey and for sharing this amazing journey.
That's awesome. So keep in mind, April 24th, we're doing the draft party at our new location, and there's more to come from us. But today was special, and I was excited when I saw it was Kelly, because that's my guy. Like, when I tell you, when won't nobody respond or when nobody doesn't say nothing, he's always there with that message. Right? I see you, Cal. Right? The whole nine. Right? And that's what we do in supporting one another across this country. That's what we do. And and a lot of people don't understand what I mean by that. I'm in a couple of groups local, but I'm in 2 groups national. Right? Where there are men at work, and they're constantly at work. And there's only so much you can do, so many jabs you can throw to get through to them, but these men are at work. And I love the fact that they see themselves, because I'm going to bring it back to fatherhood, they see themselves as men, well, not realizing in the component, a lot of them do realize it, because I make sure I bring it to your attention. If it takes 12 mentors to equal one father, the father is the coldest being. And the problem that we're seeing in this dynamic, as I was having a conversation earlier, is the damage occurs when the father is not at the beginning. When the father's not present at the beginning, he's not guided, and he creates, and his seed becomes damaged, and he creates damage, and therefore it plays out. And some of this stuff goes back to Joyce DeGruy about what happened to slavery. So the seed, imagine that.
And Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine that the seed recorded, as Kelly went back years into Africa, the seed produced things that we see today. And so when we are not hands-on or understand how important the fatherhood is, the whole nine, damage occurs, and it really happens to our seed carriers. And we have to do more for our boys. Follow us at EMIYTV on Facebook, EMIYTV Podcast on Facebook. Subscribe at youtube.com/EMIYTV. Please subscribe, and remember this. It is important for us to understand how our work going forward will only enhance what's coming up behind us. It's just that important for us to lay the groundwork, and I understand that. I'm kind of buying into my vision even more so again in the work that we do. Somebody sent a message like, "Dude, you work hard," and I laugh, because they got all the bells and whistles and we don't. I wish I had your bells and whistles. I'd really be clowning. You know what I mean? But with that being said, we thank you for tuning in. It was a great interview. Stay tuned for more interviews like that. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. God bless you. Or you can reach me at calvintmann.com. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young. Peace.